Are you an overgiver? Many people form relationships that are totally built around what they can give to others, which sounds noble, but unfortunately, this pattern can leave you feeling unseen, unknown, unloved, frankly, resentful. So, if this is you, how do you stop overserving other people and start thinking about yourself a little bit so that you can create healthy relationships based on mutual give and take? Well, that's what we're talking about on today's show. And if this is your first time listening, welcome to the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. My background, I'm a therapist, I'm a psychologist, I'm a marriage and family therapist specifically. And I am your honored host. I have to tell you, I love doing this podcast for you so much. And I'm always so honored when you guys reach out to me through the socials or through my website, growingself.com, to let me know what's going on with you, what's on your mind, questions you have. I just love that. So please keep those coming, and I'll do my best to build episodes around them like the one we're doing today. And hey, thank you too for sharing the show. If there are topics I'm talking about and you're thinking about a friend or loved one who's like, they need to hear that. Thanks for sharing it. And also thank you so much for subscribing to the podcast, either on your podcast player or on YouTube, because that is how we grow and get the message of love, happiness, and success out into the world. And just to share, people have asked like, Lisa, the show is getting so big. Like you have hundreds of thousands of people listening to the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast at this point, which frankly is like a little bit like I can't think about that too much. I start to get a little weird about it, but they're like, why don't you do paid advertising? You could totally do this. And my simplest answer is that I literally don't want to. This is a labor of love for me. I am making the show for you. I have a business. I'm running the Growing Self Counseling and Coaching. We're good. I have everything that I need over there. This show is really like my mission to just be putting information out into the world that helps you for free forever. I'm not monetizing it. And like that's the intention behind it. That's why I do it. So again, that's why it means so much to me when you just put these ideas in front of other people so that it helps them too. And also when you subscribe to the show, it like feeds the algorithm and helps other people find it. So thank you for collaborating with me on helping this show continue to grow organically and hopefully serving more people, as hopefully it serves you. Okay, that is it. Done with the plugging and on to today's topic. And this topic is really important one for me. I have had, I think, more than one listener reach out with this being a pain point of overgiving, overserving in relationships. And I'll tell you, over the years, I've worked with many people who have come either through, couples counseling or individual therapy, and who were often not aware that like this was the problem when they darkened my door. Like they don't, we none of us. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and out myself right at the very beginning of the show instead of like saving it for later. I have also been an overgiver in my life. It is part of my just, I think, helping tendency. And it's created problems for me too. It's something that I have been working on. So I think that's another reason why this topic is important to me, is because it's like, I think it's common doing my own work here too, not going to lie. But we don't know, my clients don't know that there's a name for the problem, and the name of the problem is overgiving. That isn't how it is experienced. How it is experienced is feeling overwhelmed, like there is way too much on your plate, very responsible in a stressful way for the outcomes that other people have many times, saying yes to things that should maybe say no to. I think it's closely related to people pleasing, to be honest with you, but it's different. I think that people pleasing in general relates to a tendency to be agreeable no matter what. So it's almost like an emotional stance that comes with people pleasing, a relational way of being, conflict avoidant, like, yes, I think you're right. I'm not going to say what I'm actually feeling, like people pleasing. Whereas overgiving or overserving is much more active. It is expressed through activities, doing literal work for other people. It can be more task oriented. I think that sometimes people with an overgiving orientation might not even be that like people pleasing in the moment because we're like, I'm too busy, blah. But it's like we do the things. We are caretakers is like a piece of that, but it's like a more material relational space than just people pleasing. And, people will come into therapy or coaching saying, I can't do this anymore. I feel stressed out. I feel anxious. I feel angry, resentful, bitter. Like that can be part of the experience after a while. But they haven't like quite connected the dots to like, oh, this is why I'm feeling the way that I am. Right. And so, to just slide into talking about, where this comes from, why we go here, it often comes from, I think, a very poignant place. I think that people who have tendencies of overgiving or overserving, we're kind of doers, going back to a topic that we discussed recently, like intergenerational patterns and how they impact us. I mean, I have never met an overgiver who has not been in kind of a service position with one or both parents, like kind of taking care of parents a little bit, a bit of a parentified child thing going on. So I think that can oftentimes be at the core of it. But also, I think, more broadly, I think that being of service to people can also lead to like feelings of worth. Like I am valuable if I can be helpful to other people. It creates feelings if somebody needs me, I have like a secure position in the world, right? That again, the dark side of this is that overgiving, it leads to this imbalanced relationships where you will start to feel depleted, resentful, even used, because sadly, it is also very easy for somebody with overgiving, kind of caretaking tendencies to connect with someone who is very happy to take whatever is offered, who may have their own relational patterns of expecting to be served. So you can see the dovetail happening so beautifully, right? So this is a thing, and it's important to just watch out for and be mindful of when it comes to these relational dynamics. And so, as with all personal growth work, I think the hardest part of all of it is becoming aware of our own patterns to be able to say, yes, this is a thing and I do it. It needs to change. That's the hard part. But once that clarity and self-awareness is achieved, often through therapy or sometimes coaching, if you come into a coach and say, I want to feel different, and we can start unpacking like, okay, well, what's getting in the way of that? Sometimes this could also be revealed through that type of work. Then, though, the conversation turns to, how do I change this? How do I develop new relationships that are not based on this kind of transactional model that I've been engaging in, maybe without fully realizing it, but more challenging sometimes can be, how do I change the dynamics of some of my existing relationships where these expectations of how I serve or take care of other people are well established? because if I change, people might have a reaction to that. And you're not wrong. You can expect that to happen. So one is new relationships, going to do this differently, but then changing the dynamic, retraining other people about what to expect from me, and figuring out how to get clear about my own boundaries and then start effectively setting those with other people. So I'm not doing what I used to be doing anymore. So let's talk about what it takes to start making those shifts. Again, that first stage, the awareness of the problem, but I think too, awareness of like the why that drives some of those behaviors. Self-awareness of the emotions, like need to validation, need to be needed. I like being, useful to other people. It's doing something for me, but also getting clear around like the mindsets that can go with that. And how that can show up in your mind. I know that for me, and I'll also say this, like, in addition to being trained to sort of have like a servant mentality a little bit can be part of this. But I think also people who overgive or overserve are also, in my experience, like light and dark of the same coin, right? They tend to be very intelligent, good problem solvers, effective, good at doing things. I mean, this is not true for me, but I've worked with a number of clients who have this tendency. Do you want to know what they do for a living? Any guesses? Project management or nursing. So, I mean, it makes sense, but it's like these are people who can get things done and they're usually good at it, right? And so I think that part of the mindset that goes along with this is that things are often fairly easy for them in terms of like, I know what to do. Like, I can see that this needs to happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it because apparently it's much harder for this other person to do XYZ, which might be true. But like, just to be aware of what some of that self-talk can look like. And I think, again, part of it is fueled by I'm important because I can do things for other people. But the other piece of this is like, how do you sort of, rationalize the behavior in itself, and also that it's not like a necessarily negative thing. I think that there can be a lot of positive traits associated with a tendency to overserve, including intelligence and competence. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Okay. So anyway, recognizing what it looks like in your mind is very important, but then also recognizing how it shows up relationally is what gives you visibility about what specifically you need to do differently in order to be changing this pattern. So, this can show up in so many different ways. But I think being available for friends or a friend who's going through a crisis, especially like that friend who is always going through a crisis, who might be texting you kind of day or night without a ton of regard for what you might be doing. And then kind of launches into like how they are and what they need and kind of venting and not really asking how you're doing that much, right? Not really giving you the same opportunities to share or to lean on them. It feels like, that both of you are kind of tacitly agreeing that you're here for that other person who's the star of the show. Not that that's said out loud, but like if you turn off the volume and watch what is actually happening, that's what is happening. I've also seen this happen a lot with just practical day-to-day things. Like there can be a pronounced gender dynamic where women doing a lot of the overgiving. Not always. I have seen it many times go in a direction whereas the male identifying person is getting the kids and doing the housework and doing the dinner and doing the laundry and thinking about all things and making sure that all the wheels are moving and the gears are in motion. And also really working pretty hard to take care of their partner in active ways. Yes, I will take the kids so you can go and do your things. And yes, you go on a big trip so that you can have your time, but it isn't really reciprocated in the same way. Can look like so many things. But what it always boils down to, I think, at the very deepest core, is this fundamental disconnection in the overgiver from a clear understanding or even sense of legitimacy of their own needs, rights, and feelings. I think being in this space, one becomes so other focused, like really the priority is how is this person feeling? What are they needing? What's happening? What can I take care of here? That creates a lot of disconnection with the self in a way that needs to be healed in order for this to change. So to be able to spot like what's happening and what you're actually doing that is ultimately creating problems or leading to your needs not getting met or feelings of resentment requires this deeper level of exploration and reckoning, which is what are my needs actually? Do I have needs? I've never actually thought about that before. If I did have needs, what would they be? If I did have feelings or things that are important to me, what are those? And again, I say this, I think pretty much on every single episode of the podcast, dark emotions get so much bad press. Your feelings of healthy and legitimate anger are really, really good. Anger is fantastic because for people with overgiving tendencies to recognize the fact that they are angry, if you kind of unpack that, journal, talk through it with a good therapist, like, why am I angry? That is actually the doorway to making contact with what you need and what your values are and what your pain points are. Anger is like the street light. Anger is like, look here, look over here. So paying attention to anger and leaning into anger is what will help you create the clarity and grow where you need to grow. So with that work, I hope, and again, this isn't something that happens overnight. This isn't like flipping a switch. This takes some digging into. And once you have that reckoning with yourself and start to rebuild a relationship with yourself, that is when you have the visibility into, okay, what do I need? The good news here is that you are so good at giving to other people and meeting the needs of other people that you know how to do this. It is effortless for you to slide up alongside somebody, put your arm around them, say, how are you feeling? What are you needing? What can I do to help? You don't even need to tell me what I can do to help. I see it. I'm going to go take care of the things because I love you. You know, like that is what you do, right? So it's all there. The work is being able to do that for yourself. Come alongside. How are you feeling, Lisa? And waiting to hear the answer. Being in a relationship with a therapist who can help you articulate that, help you write it down in a journal. Yeah, how am I feeling? What do I need right now? What would care look like and feel like for me? What needs to be done in order to create that experience? And now I am going to get up and go do that for myself and or ask somebody else to participate with me in creating this experience for me for a change. So you know how to do this. The hard part is believing that it's okay to do that. That's the hard part. And to say, actually, it is completely valid for me to feel this way, to want this, to need this, to expect this. And I'm actually not going to tolerate it not happening anymore. not in a scary, mean way, but in a real and authentic way that helps the people that you love and who I'm sure do love you understand that you've been doing some work on yourself. There was an old way of being that you've recognized isn't really good for you anymore, and that going forward, there are going to be a different set of expectations. And I mean, I guess if the entirety of the relationship was actually built on you being of service to another human, when you present this new deal to them, there's a chance they might not actually want to do that with you. That wasn't the deal that they signed up for. So they might not want to do that with you. And that might be okay, because what are the choices? You can either continue to be as you have been to your own detriment, or to give them the opportunity to say, all right, I've been doing some growth work. I know that this might be really different for you too, but this needs to be a more mutual relationship than it has been. If this is your partner that you're having this hypothetical conversation with, this could potentially be a very, very useful moment to get involved in some high quality evidence-based couples counseling to help them, understand what this means and how it will require their own growth and development in order to have empathy and recognition for you and what it is that you're feeling and needing and wanting for them, and also to be figuring out how to respond to that, particularly if they haven't been challenged to do that before. And in all fairness, I mean, if you're asking other people to learn a totally different way of being that feels perhaps very new for them, they're going to need some growth work in order to make those big changes in their own way of relating to others. So, not to make excuses and not to tolerate inactivity, but to have a little bit of grace for the fact that it is actually a process and that they may need some support in getting there, right? But it is also going to require, I think the second hardest part of this work, first of all, legitimizing the fact that it is okay to need things, and to have feelings. The second piece is being able to hold boundaries for yourself around that. And I've recorded other podcasts on the topic of healthy boundaries, and so can refer you back to those for much more detail. But quick recap, I think when boundaries are discussed, or when people say they are setting boundaries with others, 9 times out of 10, what they're saying is, I'm going to control this other person's behavior, or I'm going to put this person on notice that they need to start acting this way now. And then, of course, they predictably get very frustrated when the other person does not comply with the boundaries, right? So just for the record, setting boundaries has nothing to do with controlling the behavior of other people. Setting boundaries is getting very clear with yourself around what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not willing to tolerate, and being able to then set firm limits with what you are not willing to tolerate. So having a courageous conversation with someone to say, this hasn't been feeling good for me and I can't participate in this anymore. It might mean doing something for you. It might mean giving you money. It might mean, doing things with you that I don't really enjoy, and not feeling that it is reciprocated, whatever it is, right? But to say, I'm no longer willing to tolerate participating in what feels like a very imbalanced and one-way relationship where I give to you and it feels like you don't give back to me. So going forward, the boundary that I'm going to set is that I am happy to do nice things for you. I actually really enjoy that. That's a part of who I am. So it's all good. But I cannot continue to do that if I don't feel like we're in a reciprocal relationship. And so here's what I mean by a reciprocal relationship. Like, you might need to diagrams, like cut pictures out of magazines. I don't know what it is, but like, here's specifically what I will be looking for from you. And then, is this person participating in a different kind of relationship with you, asking you how you're feeling once in a while, asking you what you would like to do this weekend, or where you would like to go for dinner. massaging your feet. I don't know. But if they aren't, be like, I'm so sorry. I know that you would like me to do X, Y, and Z for you, but unfortunately, I'm not able to at this time because I have, these boundaries and limits that we've talked about. So no. So again, it's not about controlling their behavior. It is about controlling yourself. I said I wasn't going to tolerate this anymore. This XYZ, what I said, I didn't want to happen, is happening. Therefore, I'm not going to participate in this. So again, learning how to set healthy boundaries can be very complex in itself, and it's often the subject of many a therapy and coaching session. So it requires a lot of intentionality, self-awareness, and reflection to be able to do this, not just thinking about what you want, but also thinking about how am I going to respond if my boundary is violated, and creating a lot of clarity about that in advance. So that is the last component of overgiving. Lastly, I will just like to say out loud that one of the things that you may experience as you are doing this work related to overgiving tendencies is that when you begin making contact with your feelings, becoming aware of your own needs, asking for them to be met, talking about how you feel, it can often bring up feelings of big vulnerability. One of the things that I've discovered, I think both in myself and in my clients over the years, is that there are many reasons for overgiving, overserving, that we've talked about, related to worth, related to dynamics, related to competence, like systemic factors, all kinds of different things. But one of the things that I think can surprise people in this work is the degree to which putting yourself in a position of over-serving can actually be quite protective. If you're always focused on other people, you're always doing things for other people, you're really quite disconnected from yourself. But you're not challenged to think about how you're feeling that much. You're not challenged to make yourself vulnerable and authentic to other people by saying, I'm hurting right now. I'm having these feelings. I need this from you. Do you care enough about me to take care of me? Because I'm maybe afraid that you don't. Like, to ask and to be able to receive is incredibly vulnerable. Me saying that out loud isn't going to change the experience for you, but maybe you'll be less surprised if and when that happens. But that would be a really important thing to work through with a therapist, and just, kind of like, where is this coming from? So anyway, I just wanted to share that at the end. So I really do hope that this exploration has been helpful to you, that if you are an overgiver, I hope you have felt seen by this podcast, had, flashes of recognition into your own internal experience, your own dynamic, some validation for why this is. But also, I really do hope that this podcast has provided some guidance on what to do. We talked about figuring out where the pain points are, oftentimes through using anger, being able to recognize the dynamics that are contributing to these feelings, and just, seeing how you're showing up over and over again. Understanding the differences between kinds of relationships, existing relationships versus current relationships that are going to be harder to change, but also the actual work of how to do things differently, starting by taking care of yourself and making you just as big of a priority as anybody else in the relationship, right? So I'm glad we spent this time together today, and I will be back in touch next week with another episode of the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast. In the meantime, take care. Oh, and more resources. If you come to my website, First of all, it's growingself.com. You can join the conversation. The comments of the blog section, you can get in touch with me if you would like, hello@growingself.com, or through the socials. But come to my website and come into the blog and podcast section. You'll see it right at the top on the main nav, and I have so much more for you. Come into the happiness collection, and from there you will see healthy relationships. Also a empowered connections. So come into the empowered connections collection, and you'll find articles related to the things that we've been talking about today: boundaries, people pleasing, intergenerational patterns, all the things. And you'll also find a curated list of all the podcast episodes that I've recorded in the past on these subjects. So you've heard me talk about some of them today. They're all there in that playlist, and you can listen to all of them. While you're there, you can mess around with some of my free quizzes and activities. They are all there for you, and I hope that they support you on your journey of growth. Okay, that's all for today. Talk to you next time.